everyone, this is Jean, and welcome to my 100 days of learning how to code in Swift. Last week I showed you a little bit how I made the graphics, the assets for a little calculator app. So I was making a little calculator, learn how to do that, and then I thought to myself, what if I take my actual calculator and turn this one into like a little app in Xcode? This week, I've really been having fun taking that like a step further, because I've been trying to get not just the buttons to animate and the buttons to work like you saw last week, but I'm actually trying to get the math behind the buttons to work. And this was a little above my my ability, so it was really fun, like pushing it and like trying to look up everything. How does this work? And also like trying to, well, basically reinvent the wheel. Like, I know I've seen all these video tutorials, I've read all this material, and I know that there's certain models they do to make apps work, like the view and the model, and like the MVM. But I haven't actually made any of that, because that's not where I'm at yet in the course that I'm doing. So I kind of came up with my own way of figuring out there's like different states as the user is using the calculator. Like you put in the first number, and then you press plus or minus or multiply, and then you put in the second number. And so those digits that you put in have to be added to an array, and then the array has to be like you put a stop to it once you hit a thing. Like it's kind of complicated. I'm not very good at explaining this. Like I guess I kind of have to practice explaining how I do these things. Like you can see it on the screen right now. Like this is me thinking like, how do I have to do this? But I did it. It's very easy to break because it's not a perfectly working calculator. Like you can't do all the things that you'd expect the calculator to do as you're just punching it in on the app that I built. But if you just go a number, could be anywhere in the millions or just the hundreds, and you want to add it or subtract it or divide it by another number, don't hit the dot because you'll break it, and then equals, you get an answer. And the answer that is printed in the console is correct. And so I got that to work, and that was felt pretty good. But it also made me realize, like, even more now that I'm looking at these little snippets that I collected over the week, you know, so that I would have something to show here on YouTube. I spent a long time on this calculator, first making the art assets. That took me away from Xcode, and then eventually what I did here, you know, like I finally got to go back in. And how I actually did it was kind of fun, because on the weekends I try and get out of my little office that I'm in right now, in our new house, and I go sit downstairs, and so we can hang out together, and like Maui's doing her thing, and then I get to do a little bit of coding at the same time. And so this weekend I actually used her MacBook Air, and I used Playgrounds. I have Playgrounds on the iPad, and it's pretty cool. I have some issues with it, mostly because once you have Xcode on a Mac, like you don't really want to deal with the idiosyncrasies and spell check of Playgrounds, I found. That being said, I used Playgrounds here just to build those functions because I wasn't doing anything graphical really. I just wanted to see if I can build an array and then have that array be part of a function, and then, you know, like taking the different steps. And I did that. There's this one thing in Swift UI or Swift called the switch and the enums, and they're kind of like the if statements but different, and they're a little easier to read. And I really like breaking things up into all the different cases, that all the different parts that it can be. And I used these switches within switches and in different functions to just go through a very, do I still have it here? Like a very basic state machine, if you will. You know, a very basic algorithm, which is really exciting. You know, like once I had that that first number, and someone hits multiply or divide, and then you get to have that second number. That's like the next step, and like I just went through those steps, and I had to figure out how to move things along, because it had the tendency to just stop, because the user wasn't putting anything in that could be interpreted further. So I had to make sure that, you know, I could move this from one state to the next state and like learn how to do that. It's just really basic stuff, but you know, kind of pushed my limits a little bit in what I can do in coding, and it was fun. It took a couple of days, because I only have like an hour, maybe 2 hours a day to work on this outside of my regular day job, which is of course on a European time zone, even though I'm living out here in Asia. But I did it. It's awesome. It was great. And then the next thing I got to do was basically this weekend, I started with the question of, can I have a switch inside a switch? And then I kind of started messing around with enums a little bit more, and I started coming up with this, can I have a calendar or a date input, you know, like 01/04/2022, and can I then take that information and break it up and present it back as like a full sentence, like it's the 1st of April 2022. Can I then take it the next step and like get a Chinese zodiac sign for the year? That had me digging into Chinese zodiac signs, and like that was a fun little rabbit hole to go through, and all the different years for a whole century, and like how can I break this down into a little formula so that, you know, I don't have to put in all the years in an array or case by case to loop over. And I got that to work too. And so I'm pretty happy with how my coding is slowly coming along.
What else have I been up to?
This is the proper tool. Yeah, I bet it is, Al. You know, man, we want a job done right, and we want it done quick. What do we need? That's right, more power. It's a riding lawnmower.
What do you think?